In my childhood and youth, there were no ordinary hobbies. From a young age, I was convinced that you need to study hard and work hard in order to achieve something in life. This priority forced me to study various sciences, instead of having fun like other children. My perseverance gradually began to bear fruit. In parallel with my efforts, I managed to find a girl who appreciated and understood what I was doing. Her name was Kaya. This girl was not the same as me, but she always supported me in everything, helped me not to relax and again achieve new heights. She did not try to jump above her head, she had a cold calculation about everything. She always made tough and clear decisions, and that inspired me. After a while, I had some very brilliant ideas. I tried to earn my startup capital in order to realize my plan. There was one more close friend in my life, Victor. This man was very good at managing many aspects of the business, and we soon became partners. I have always been proud that I had such a true friend and a strong girl whom I could trust with my life. At a certain point in my life, I felt incredible confidence in my future. I already had everything I wanted. There was plenty of money, because things were going very well. It seemed to me that my goal had been achieved. We had great parties with Victor and Kaya. I was not a big fan of loud evenings, but it gave me great pleasure to watch how much fun Kaya and Victor had. Every time they tried to stir me up, but I was a very reserved person. I liked spending time alone more, reading an interesting book and drinking scotch. Everything went according to plan, life became more and more ordinary, there were no more particularly nervous situations in which I would have to worry about my future. Kaya and I loved to go to the mountains. There we had a beautiful house with a simply amazing view of the surrounding nature. Here I was myself, I could breathe in the fresh mountain air to the fullest and discuss various topics with Kaya. I also enjoyed being active. I loved getting out into the snowy terrain on skis. Kaya, on the other hand, liked being in the house and waiting for me from the next route. One day we headed back to our little piece of paradise. As always, Kaya stayed in the house, and I got on my skis and began to cut through the snow-covered slopes. For a moment I stopped in the middle of the forest to listen to the silence of this fabulous place. But suddenly I heard dogs barking. It seemed very strange to me, because there should not be anyone around except me and Kaya. This barking was getting louder and louder, which really alarmed me. Suddenly, something whistled near me and smashed the bark on a tree near me to pieces. I turned around in alarm, not understanding what it was. Then something very hot dug into my leg. I felt a sharp pain that deafened my consciousness. I realized that someone was hunting for beckoning. I fell, trying to clamp the wound on my leg with my hands. I was seized by despair and helplessness. I did not understand who and why wanted to kill me. The dogs were not far at all, and behind them was a group of people with weapons. In this situation, there were only two possible options in my head: either lie down on the spot, in the hope that they would not find me, or they would spare me, or this was some kind of mistake, and it happened by accident. But common sense and the instinct of self-preservation forced me to accept the second option, namely, to run desperately and as quickly as possible. At that moment, the pain did not bother me much. A rush of adrenaline made me rush into the depths of the forest. I tried my best, but I could hear my pursuers getting closer and closer, bullets whistling along the way. Nearby I saw a ravine and wanted to hide there. I ran to this place, but it was not a pit at all, it was a steep bank of a mountain river. I tried to go down anyway, but I slipped and tumbled to the very bottom. My body plunged into the seething and incredibly cold water. As if thousands of needles pierced my body, which completely fettered my thoughts and muscles. During the fall, I still hit my head hard, and the blood began to fill my eyes. I lost consciousness. The last thing I saw was a few men on the bank with weapons and dogs, who followed me with their eyes as the raging river current carried me further and further away from them. Darkness consumed me. I suddenly woke up in an unfamiliar room. My breathing accelerated sharply. I wanted to rise instantly, but I could not. My head was pounding horribly, and I didn't have the strength to get up. In a semi-delirious state, I saw some girl who sometimes flashed before my eyes. After a while I came to my senses again. I already felt better. A girl came into my room, who, I thought, had been imagining me all this time. She asked me how I felt, then gave her name. Her name was Sophia. She told how she found me on the river bank. I was bleeding heavily, there were all signs of hypothermia. I miraculously did not drown in that river and did not die from blood loss and hypothermia. There was no hospital nearby, there was not even the opportunity to call, it was a very remote place from civilization. Therefore, Sophia tried to help me on her own, because it was impossible to hesitate for a second. She had some medical experience, so she was able to pull the bullet out of my leg, bandage my head. Fortunately, the bullet did not hit the artery, otherwise I could have died much faster. I thanked her for her help, but I couldn't quite explain what had happened to me. It was the moment I was born again, my second birthday. Sophia said that I had already been with her for about a week. I thought that Kaya was going crazy and I needed to warn her urgently. Sophia, I told about my beloved and showed her a photograph that I had in my wallet. I always carried it with me. Sophia said she saw Kaya not too long ago, probably on the same day that I was being hunted. Sophia was skiing nearby and saw a strange company of men with weapons and dogs. She showed them the routes that I liked to take for my walks. She spoke calmly and confidently with them, and it didn't look like they were torturing her. I said it couldn't be. But still, I doubted my confidence a little later. I decided not to rush back home. With Sophia's permission, I stayed with her until I put my health and thoughts in order. I needed to deal with everything. About a month later, I quietly returned to the city. Stunning news awaited me there. It's like I never existed here. My house was sold, so there was nowhere for me to go back. I headed towards my office. And suddenly I noticed how Kaya and Victor came out of the building, got into the car and left. I quickly got into the rented car and followed them. They drove up to Victor's house. I followed them into the house, because I knew everything here like the back of my hand. Soon I was taken aback by what I saw. Kaya and Victor indulged in carnal pleasures right in front of my eyes. I ran out of the house, not understanding how this could happen, what it all means. I soon learned that my share of the company had passed to Victor, and I was declared dead. I began to remember all the people who work in my company. I remembered Michael. This man has always been distinguished by special devotion to the cause. He always helped me, and I was sure that even in such a slippery and incomprehensible situation, this person would be on my side. Soon I secretly met with Mikhail, who was simply in shock that I was still alive. He was aware of what was happening, accidentally stumbled upon a conversation in which Victor discussed with Kaya how to quickly get rid of me and get the whole company. Mikhail did not know what to do with this information. A little later he wanted to, but did not have time to contact me, since we were already in the mountains with Kaya, and Victor, in addition, threatened Mikhail with reprisals for unnecessary conversations. Before going to the police, Mikhail found out that I was already dead, and did not know what to do next. After all, Victor could easily refute any of his suspicions. He could achieve recognition of Mikhail as insane. The news almost made my ears curl up. It turns out that all this time these lying bastards were playing a double game against me, giving me care and attention, smiling, but in fact they wanted to get rid of me. But they will be quite surprised by the surprise I have prepared for them. Mikhail helped me sneak into the office unnoticed. I knew the password to the safe where Victor and I had previously kept important papers. I hoped that I would find something useful there, but, unfortunately, there were no clues here, and I took a desperate measure. I began to follow my traitors. One evening Victor took Kaya and they went back to Victor's house. In their sweetest moment of intimacy, I entered the room discreetly and made them start clapping loudly. I said that this applause is dedicated to them, my murderers, my traitors. Kaya jumped aside in complete incomprehension of what was happening. Enraged, Victor began to nervously repeat the same phrase. This cannot be, I killed you. I started asking them why they did this to me. Victor began to furiously accuse me of my excessive honesty. He wanted to earn even more by making dark deals in the underworld, and I kept preventing this from happening. Then he said that I was not worthy to own even a fraction of this company, that all this was only his by right. I looked at Kaya and said that she did not make the best choice, fell for Victor's false stories about even greater wealth. At that moment, Victor pulled a pistol from the half-open bedside table and pointed it at me. At that moment, Victor revealed his nature not only in front of me. He was attentively listened to by the task force of the capture. Everything was recorded in the best possible way and now will serve as consciousness in the deed. The windows and the door shattered in one moment. Guys in uniform burst into the room and twisted the villain before he could fire a shot. Victor and Kaya were put behind bars for a long time. They lost everything. I returned everything. The company was now completely mine. My habits remained the same, only a new person appeared, to whom I owe my life. I still went to the mountains, where I skied not alone, but with Sophia, and everything was fine with us.